guys, I just want to do a quick video today, and basically all I'm doing a video on is basically the Sega MegaDrive, the Model 1 and the Model 2 versions that came out here in Europe. Now I know there's a Model 3, a smaller version again, but these are the only models that I have to hand at the moment. And these are the only models I remember being released in Europe. And basically I want to talk about add-ons that Sega brought out in the 90s to boost the power of this system. And were these add-ons what ultimately would have been one of the nails in Sega's coffin that ultimately at the end took it out of the hardware business and making the company solely only software developers. I personally think it probably was, because if you think about it, in the early 90s these systems, they weren't overly expensive. I mean, I remember my parents actually got my brother one. I think it was about 120 euros in Smiths, or not euros, sorry, pounds at the time, because we had to put at the time here in Ireland, we're now euro, but it was about 120 pounds. And I remember, again, a friend of mine, they got the Model 1 for Christmas a couple of years before that, and I think again it was about 120, 130 pounds. So they weren't overly expensive, but back in, we'll say, the early 90s, or late 80s, early 90s, that was, you know, enough to pay for anything. So then I think again in about 92, was it 91 or 92? Sega wanted to always be ahead of the game, so they released the Sega CD.
Welcome to the next level!
Hey! Is anybody out there?
Pretend it's a game.
Sega!
Try Swedish bacon. Leaner than
Sega TV!
It's movie time!
Wine! This place is a pigsty!
Wait! But you to prove our superiority, use your weapon!
What a bore. This is the MegaDrive 2, one of the most powerful 16-bit machines ever made. Go on, pig. Make my day.
Here, stop hogging it.
This is the end! And this is the other end! Mega CD! So, try Swedish bacon!
My MegaDrive, that's a real pig.
Now I'm going to show you the two versions that I have, that they released. And I've got the version here. The first version I have here is the Model 1 version, which is a front-loading version. And I actually never ever liked this this version of the Sega CD, because I never actually had this version. The version I had was the Model 2 version. Until a few years ago, we actually picked this up in a shop. It's called Centwise in Cork, and I fell in love with it. I, from the get-go, loved it, and to this day do love it. And you'll see my previous videos that I have done is this used to kind of, when I got it, you'd switch it on. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't, and basically it was the capacitors on the board they were dying basically, because Sega unfortunately was notorious in the early 90s for using cheap capacitors, or well, not even the fact of using cheap capacitors. There was a whole batch of capacitors back in the early 90s that were cheaply made, which Sega purchased, which if you think about it, on the Game Gear, the actual Sega CDs are failing and you have to get them replaced. And I have a video done of, I sent the board from this Mega CD away to a guy in the UK. He recapped it and ultimately actually made it region free by putting a region free BIOS chip into it as well. So that's the Model 1 Sega CD, which is the first add-on that they released back in the early 90s. And the catch with this was you could have bigger games, and you could also play music CDs, where in the early 90s not a lot of people had CD players. Were still using tape decks. So that was a caveat to buying one of these, but they were quite expensive to buy. But you know, and they were your home sound system. So basically then, a couple of years later, because this didn't sell as much as they thought it would, they released a kind of a crackdown or a knockdown version. They got rid of the front loading mechanism and just brought out the standard top loader, and basically it was for the Model 2. Well, you could put the Model 1 on it as well. You could slot the Model 1 on it, but you also got an extender piece here to fit the Model 1 MegaDrive. And basically this version here, guys, is, I always class it as the Model 2 version. And basically, look, simple. They got rid of the eject mechanism and just basically made it a front top loader with just a simple spring eject, and that was basically it. And also, if I'm right on the back of this, there was no real cuts to it as such. Again, it worked perfectly, it worked just as good as this, and that was basically the add-on. But again, these add-ons didn't sell amazingly well, and like, there was rumours of a new system coming out called, we'll say, the Sega Saturn, or the Sega, they had other names for it in Japan. But we also heard in magazines that they were going to bring out another add-on for the top of this, called, in America they called it the Sega 32X, and in Europe it was called the Mega 32X.
Alright, baby.
Experience the extreme!
And this was an add-on they were going to retail at, I think it was around, I think here it was between £159 and £169. And basically it was to bring this from being a 16-bit system all the way up to being a 32-bit system. And basically, if you grew up in the 90s, well, the 80s and the 90s, it was all about bits and how many bits your console had. So you went from 8-bit on the NES and the Master System to 16-bit on the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive. But then Sega wanted to go one more against competitors again and launched the 32X, which is what I'm going to show you guys here now, right? So the 32X only got one version released. It got released in Europe, the US and Japan. There was no there was basically no variation on it. Basically it was just region locked to your region. That was it, basically. That was the only difference in it. And our one here was known as the Mega 32X, also known as the Mega 32X in Japan, and in the US it was known as the Sega 32X. So I know I have one around here somewhere. Yes! I got this a good few years ago. I'd been after one for a while, and this is the best I could get, and at the time it was quite expensive. It was quite an expensive purchase. And was it worth it in the end? Well, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've played it, but I just wanted to complete the setup. So basically this is what the box looks like. This is the Mega 32X, the European version. So on the top of the box there, guys, look, it shows the Model 1 and the Model 2, and the Model 1 and the Model 2, Mega CD, Mega Drive, Mega CD 2 and Mega Drive. And basically this is just the box. You can see here on the box, on this now again here, you can see, look, the different consoles that you could, or the different variations of these consoles you attach it to, because you only got one variation of this. And this is it. Now, I remember when there was, you know, magazines and stuff out at the time, and there was one game that I was really interested in playing. I can remember, if it had been released, it would have been why I bought the actual 32X. And I think it's on the back. Yeah, the one that I wanted was this. Was called Shadow of Atlantis. Now it didn't get released. But anyway, that is it. So I'm going to open this, guys, and show it to you. I could have brought out the Mega CDs, the boxed Mega CDs, and unboxed them, but I just think this is the one that I want to unbox. The box is tatty. I'm not going to say it's not. It is old and tatty. This is the way it was when I bought it, unfortunately. And the person I bought it off of had tape galore on the box. So I'm being ever so careful that I don't tear anything. So basically in the box you would have got... Put the box over here, guys. In the box you got your instructions. So basically you got the 32X manual, which is in a load of different languages. Okay. You then would have got your registration card, which was, look, you can see it here, Sega MegaDrive 32X. There's your registration card, like your warranty card you would have sent off. And that's basically what you would have gotten that. Rightio, we shall move on now, guys. And now, you got this plate in it, and this plate was solely for... Was it? I'm trying to think of what camera it was. Was it for this one, or was it for this one? I'm going to try it now. I'm fully sure it was for the MegaDrive 2 console. But anyway, look, here you go, guys. It had to have its own separate power supply. Now, guys, one thing I am going to say about this. There's your power supply for it, okay? Now, remember, you've had your MegaDrive and your Mega CD, and they also needed their own separate power supply. Now, remember this, guys, it was called the Tower of Power for a reason, because it used a lot of it. But there you go. You had to use 3 power supplies to set this system up. I'm going to show you in a minute, guys. It's so amazing when you think about that. And Sega actually, I'll put a picture up here, Sega actually did release a connection, a plug, basically socket, so that you could plug these together. Because on a standard socket, the standard plug is small. You couldn't actually plug these in together because they were so fat. But anyway, let us see. Oh, here we go, guys. I'm looking at the 32X. It's in its bag. We'll get that now in a second. Also in the box, you got these anti-static clips, and you were meant to insert these either on your Model 2 or your Model 1. They go on to into kind of where the slot is here, and it was just static, basically, to stop any build-up of static issue or any surge build-up on the boards. To be perfectly honest, I've never used these. They're meant to be used. You should use them if Sega's saying it, but I've never had an issue with them. You also, inside in the box here, you got 2 cables, because you had to connect your 32X down with it basically to your Sega MegaDrive, and then out of the 32X you go to the TV. So this is the Model 1 cable you needed. You would have got it in the box. I'm going to show you how to do these in a minute, guys, and what they look like. And you also got the Model 2 version. Remember, 2 separate cables. They were the cables you needed to be able to set it up on either the Model 1 or the Model 2 MegaDrive. Now, we'll just put this down here, guys. And here's the pièce de résistance, guys. Here is the European version of the Sega Mega, or I'm going to just go MegaDrive 32X. This is my version. This is my one. And basically, I'm going to show you here now, guys. You would have pop this on here. This is for the Model 2 MegaDrive, okay? And it literally popped on here, and that is it. Look at that. It slots right in, okay? And that's what it looks like on the Model 2 MegaDrive. Basically, you could still put your ordinary MegaDrive cartridges into the top here and then play away like normal, and you can also put 32 cartridges into it. Get back to it. This is what the 32X looks like on the Model 2 MegaDrive, and you need this piece here because I'm going to show you here, guys. If you didn't have this piece in it, this would be very loose, and I'd be afraid you'd damage your board. Look how loose that is. It was recommended that you use this piece. It just stopped it from moving around, because I'd say after time you'd probably break your board if you didn't use it. Now that is what it looked like on the Model 2. So now we are going to pop it onto the Model 1 MegaDrive, and we're also going to do the wiring setup. Okay? So here is your Model 1. Yeah, right. So basically, this would just on the Model 1 board, it just fitted straight on. You didn't need any attachment. If you see there, guys, there's no movement, it's solid. Okay? And that's what it looked like. Again, the tower of power. And it is the tower of power because it needs 3 power supplies to power it. But, I mean, I think it does look fantastic. And they re-released the Sega Mini there a few years ago. And you could actually buy the 2 little attachments to put on your Sega Mini. Just, you know, they didn't work. You could buy the Mega CD and the 32X. Just, I think, visually. But this is the real thing, guys. So anyway, okay. I'm going to show you how this was actually set up back in the day. So if you look here now, guys, right? So, firstly, you have to power your... Back in the day, you would need a power supply for your MegaDrive. So we say our MegaDrive is powered, right? Then you buy your Mega CD add-on, or your Mega CD attachment, or add-on, and you had to go away and then, with its own power supply, power this, right? You get where I'm going? Tower of power. So basically, when you set this up then, and you wanted to connect your 32X to it, you then had to once again, let me show you here, guys. You then had to use power for your 32X, right? But not only did you use power for your 32X, to get the picture on your TV, you had to use this cable. We're going to use the Model 1 cable. And basically the Model 1 cable would go, there's little arrows on top of this now, guys. This would go into the top. Right, into the top of your 32X. And this piece then, where your aerial out, or your component or composite out connection is, it would go into that. There, okay? Okay, now you see what I'm saying? Look at all the wires so far. And finally then, so you could get your output on the TV, you needed your composite cable, and the only composite cable you could use was the MegaDrive 2 cable. So, if we say for instance you had the Model 1 MegaDrive, you had to go in and invest in a Model 2 cable, because that's the only way you could output it. And again, that will plug into that. And away you go. A lot of people got caught back in the day with this because, like, this cable here is the Model 1 cable. The Model 1, and all it had was audio out and video. Your Model 1 composite cable, which plugged into your Model 1 MegaDrive. But this could not plug into this. So you had to buy, if you were unfortunate, you had to buy one of these cables to be able to use it. Anyway, guys, you can see there's a lot of wires to set this up, isn't there? But again, at the end of the day, guys, they called it the Tower of Power for a reason. And I mean, come on, 3 power supplies to power. I hope you enjoyed the video. As I say, it's just a rendition on, were these some of the add-ons that put a nail in Sega's coffin? Because if you think about this, when they dropped the 32X in 1994, Japan were already on about, they were getting ready to release the actual Sega Saturn. And a year later, they released the actual Sega Saturn. And Sega supported this system for less than a year. Now there was one game that I think came out at the end, I think it was around 95. I think it was Spider-Man was the last game that was released on the actual 32X. But I mean, at that stage, guys, you were after forking out a load of money for your Mega CD. You were after forking out a load of money on the 32X, which did technically make it a 32-bit system, a basic 32-bit system. And then all of a sudden, a year later, less than a year later, they dropped the Sega Saturn, stopped supporting the 32X, because Sega as a company actually stopped supporting all this back then, and just concentrated on the Sega Saturn, which we all know, because Sony's first foray into console was released, kicked the Saturn's butt. I love the Sega Saturn, don't get me wrong, I love all the Sega systems. But yeah, that's basically what happened. And I do think that this, pardon my French, pissed a lot of people off. You're forking out a lot of money on these systems. Why wouldn't you just go off and buy a Super Nintendo and play Star Fox? Because I mean, that was the game that brought me towards the Nintendo, was Star Fox, and I didn't need any fancy add-ons. It was the game cartridge into the system and away I went. No, couldn't do what certain things that the actual Mega Drive or the Mega CD and the 32X could do, but do you know what? I paid, I think it was about 120, 130 pounds at the time for my Super Nintendo, and then 40 for the game. And, you know, I was set. And I also got free games, you know. Anyway, guys, look. I hope you enjoyed my video. Just a quick look at the unboxing of the Sega 32X, the few add-ons the Sega brought out, and did it finally kill Sega, because when I said the Saturn didn't sell as well, they discontinued that very quickly again, and they released the Sega Dreamcast, which is Sega's best system. I love the Sega Dreamcast, and it's still today the most impressive system you can imagine from the late 90s. It still looks visually fantastic on modern TVs. And it's one of my favourite systems. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to say one thing, guys. Have a happy Christmas. I will be bringing out another video this week on the actual Wii U, because as you know, guys, in March of 2023 the support and the online services for the Nintendo Wii U are being discontinued by Nintendo. So if you haven't bought a Wii U, or you haven't played your Wii U online in a long time, guys, now's the time to take a few days over Christmas and get back and play some of those fantastic games. Have a great one, guys, and we shall talk to you in the next one. And
For those who purchased something other than a Sega Genesis,
Yeah, that's it.
our sincere condolences.
What a waste.
When you start with a Genesis, you can always add a Sega CD and new Genesis 32X. Everything else is cold and stiff.
Burial or cremation?
Burn it.
Welcome to the next level.